Line on Facebook. We are getting our act together. Hold up. Okay. All right. We are ready to go. Hey, everybody out there on the Facebook Thriving Blind community. I'm Kristin Smedley here with I titled this conversation, The Thriving Blind is Chatting with Fired Up Moms.
Yes, fired up.
So excited about this. I say I'm so excited. I'm excited because these are a couple of moms you're about to meet that have very young kids that are just entering the system, in air quotes, of empowering blind and visually impaired children to thrive, not just to survive the diagnosis as we talk here at Thriving Blind, but to thrive. And typically, the tweet that I'm tagged in, that I was tagged in the other day, that typically comes from a mom or a dad or a teacher or somebody later on in the journey that have been kind of fed up for a while that things aren't going well. When I saw that it was moms of very young kids just beginning this journey, I thought, oh my goodness, we have got to address this. We have got to keep this fury fired up to get to a finish line that makes sense for our kids. So we're going to unpack this whole thing. I know that's a very big intro, and I know a lot of you that are tuning in have been following this all week as we've been talking about it and tweeting about it. So again, I'm Kristin Smedley with Thriving Blind, and I'm here with Tara and Megan, who have a change.org petition out there about the things, I was going to say the things that are happening in New Jersey. It's more like the things that are not happening in New Jersey that we are going to get into. And this is actually going to be just the first part of a journey that I want to be on with you all. Sorry, I should have warned you that now you're stuck with me until we get to the line and then beyond, because I want to make sure that you have all the resources and empowerment you need to turn that over to your kids to keep them empowered, because that's my sweet spot and purpose in this life. So let's talk real quick. Tara, why don't we start with you, because you're at the top of my screen. Tell us about where you're at in New Jersey, and tell us about your child that you're in this for.
So we live in Hazlet, New Jersey. My daughter is 3. She was born with Peter's anomaly, which is a rare disease. She also has other complications. And this just happened at birth. You know, there were no signs. We went in, we delivered a baby girl, and we were told that she was completely blind and would never see. And then we took her to specialists in Philadelphia, Will's Eye, so props to them. And she had a cornea transplant on her left eye. So now she has some usable vision. We don't know what, how much, but I know she definitely has vision. And in her other eye, she just has light perception and shadows. But, at any point in time, that vision could be taken away. Rejection, surgeries, drops, everything plays a big part into it. Glaucoma, we're dealing with glaucoma issues right now. She is in need of another laser surgery. And I think she's definitely delayed in most things. She just started walking unassisted December, so that was our Christmas miracle. But I believe that a lot of her delays come from her vision. And so when I'm working with her early intervention teachers, PT, OT, DI, they try to assist me in assisting her, but really we're all lost because we have no assistance from the Commission for the Blind, which is her disability. So there's nobody to really fall back on, so we're kind of just helping each other. And I'm texting Megan, and Megan is texting me, and who's YouTubing what. And it's really sad to have to sit back and watch your child's progression and then see a pandemic happen and everything stop and have them regress and just keep watching them regress, even though everything is opening, everything.
Right.
You know, so it's sad. I mean, it's really sad.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you right there. Thank you for giving us all of that background on your daughter. Megan, let's hear from you. Who are you in this fight for?
I am in this fight for my daughter Mila, and she also was born with Peter's anomaly. She's also born blind, and Tara and I connected to a Facebook group for mothers of children with Peter's anomaly. So I live in South Jersey. Tara lives in I live right outside of Philadelphia on the Jersey side, actually. And my daughter is about 4 months younger than Mallory. So my daughter is turning 3. Mila also had a corneal transplant on her left eye. She's also struggling with glaucoma. Her vision is a little bit more stable in one eye than the other. And we aren't sure of her usable vision at this point, but she is able to tell us more about what she sees. But the nature of the disease is that we don't know what the future holds with glaucoma or corneal transplant rejection. So we want to be as proactive as possible. And for Mila and I, that means, teaching her as much as possible with early intervention. She was receiving speech therapy, having the transition, navigate from early intervention to full age system. We want to make sure that she has all the tools in her box to keep her on the same playing field as all of the other children her age, all of her peers, and make sure that whatever tool she needs, whether it be pre-braille, whether it be assistive technology, to just, help her learn like how her peers are going to be learning. We just want to make sure that she continues to have the same opportunities that the other children her age do. So
let me ask you guys this. Did either of you come from a visually impaired background, a teacher of the visually impaired, early intervention, anything like that, before your children were born and you found out about this visual impairment?
No, there's been no one in the family who's ever had a visual impairment. I'd grown up knowing nothing about it. I did have a background with disabilities because my brother does have Down syndrome. So I had a little bit of a background in terms of like advocacy and things. I saw my mother in support groups and just like advocacy groups for Down syndrome, nothing in terms of visual impairment.
How about you, Tara?
For myself, I have a first cousin who is on my father's side, who is completely blind and autistic. And my husband has had blindness in the family, but that's come with age. They weren't born with, born blind. So yeah, but no one with, Peter's anomaly. My cousin, his retinas were completely detached. My daughters, thankfully, they're, attached and intact.
So here's what's, I've been very open about this in the past several years since I did my TED Talk, but I wasn't for a very long time. It took me 17 years to be able to admit the fact that I was nothing like you guys in the very beginning of my journey. I was more like, probably, I would guess it's 90 to 95% of the people that hear your child is blind or your child has a visual impairment. I was crying on my couch for quite some time, longer than I'm proud to talk about. And I was kind of using early intervention folks coming to the house more as therapists for me to talk to about how sad this was, as opposed to really getting an understanding of what my sons were going to need to be able to thrive. And I fully admit that. So I sit in awe all the time of folks like you that do not have a background in this, did not expect it, had no idea it was coming, and yet You got up and went right out to get your kiddos the resources that they needed, which is why I got so fired up when I received your tweet about the fact that you are the people I wish I was 21 years ago.
There was a lot of crying on the couch for us too, but we connected and we cried together. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm good. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because, and I still have my moments where, you know, I mean, my son Michael is 21 years old and is absolutely phenomenal, and Mitch is right behind him. But there's still those things that just nail my heart sometimes, like, But I wasn't as proactive and getting out there and finding people and getting all the resources I needed in the first 3 years as you guys were. So then when I found out that not only were you heroic in my mind that you did that, then you hit this wall, and you hit the same wall that I hit, you know, and I'm 21 years into this and I wrote the book on thriving blind, yet my son is sitting at the Penn State campus and Pennsylvania is not sending him mobility instructors and TVIs. And I find out you guys are hitting the exact same situation for your young kids. Now I'm going to say something that is going to probably come across wrong, but I'm going to try to say it in a nice, healthy, productive way. My son has had 21 years of skill building, toolbox building, strategies, all of that. So we kind of knew. I mean, I was furious that they didn't send people to Penn State. However, we knew.
What's Penn State?
What's that?
I said, what's up, Penn State?
Well, Penn State was fine. It was the state of Pennsylvania that refused to send his mobility instructors.
State of Pennsylvania.
We then went sideways, you know, and said, okay, how can we solve this problem? He knows Michael's old enough to tell a volunteer, here's what I need from you in terms of orientation mobility as a stand-in. It's not the best scenario, but it's a good plan B. But when I found out about you guys, I thought, oh my God, they're doing it to early intervention and early childhood. And this is where the foundation is at. This is where, if you don't get that foundation, and I know this firsthand, and you guys probably know it from having folks in your family that dealt with disability, if you don't get those foundational skills, the catch up, because Michael did not have Braille or pre-Braille until kindergarten, the catch up time for that was insanity. It was absolute, and a lot of that was on me that I didn't want to hear Braille, and I take full responsibility for that. However, this is why I was so fired up that we have an opportunity now to lay an incredible foundation with parents that get it, because I spend a ton of time with the 90% that don't get it, and I have to change their perceptions, but you guys get it. You see the value, you see the finish line and the wall. You hit the wall where they're not sending people. So let's unpack this for a little bit about what did it look like? And this is for the viewers that a lot of people here have followed my journey from, like, you know, middle school on. We didn't have Facebook because I'm so old, but that's okay. I just keep coloring my gray. We didn't have Facebook when I started my journey. So let's just give the viewers a little bit of a background in what did it look like from birth to, I guess, what, 2.5 before COVID hit? What did your day look like? What did therapies look like?
I'll start. I want to admit that I was completely ignorant of blindness at birth. When the nurses and doctors told me my child was blind, I thought that blind only meant, you know, you can't see anything. Right now, I'm aware that blindness is a spectrum, but the 2 weeks after she was born, between our grieving process and our process of just accepting this new life, when we had a lighted rattle, and we were holding it, and we realized that she was staring at the lighted rattle, and we had like an epiphany and like researched more and contacted the commission, and our TBI came out at 3 weeks. We contacted the commission, and New Jersey, when I contacted them, they were very proactive. That was my therapy. How you were talking about, like, the first couple of years talking to early intervention therapists and kind of like having that therapy for yourself as well. Like, Mila's therapists were amazing, and they still are. Like, her TBI got us through that first year. We learned so much more about blindness and visual impairments. And for Mila, she needed occupational therapy, and her TBI to just make sure that she was going to meet her milestones and not regress and not fall behind. Like, she needed motivation to move because she didn't have much vision, and we needed to find other ways to make her, want to crawl, want to walk, want to climb up things. When she received her corneal transplant surgery, that unlocked, more, because then she had more visible vision. But prior to that, she had very, very limited vision in either eye. She's had surgeries in both eyes now, and she has like some usable vision in both of her eyes at this point. We don't know exactly how much, but prior to that, we were working with therapists that were helping us to motivate Mila to move in other ways, not relying on her sight, right? So that was really eye-opening. That was really helpful. We had therapists at our house weekly, bi-weekly, and then Mila was doing so well, and we also were using the tools that we learned, that we cut back on therapy and we moved into speech therapy. And before the pandemic hit, she was just in speech therapy and getting her take care of the visually impaired services about, I think it was once a month at that point, because she was doing so well. We were working with her therapist was working with her, and we just wanted to make sure she stayed on track. And right before the pandemic hit, we were talking about possible pre-braille. We were working on textures. We were working on talking as well. She was doing okay with telehealth talking. Then the pandemic hit, and we understand coronavirus is, it's a pandemic. There are people that have seriously suffered from this. It's a very valid concern. There are safety precautions that can be taken to hopefully make sure that our children aren't without services for 2 years. At this point, it's been 15 months, 14 months, 15 months. And I know some children are suffering more than others. But I think that as a whole, it's worth discussing to try to figure out like how we can come to a solution.
So 14, 15 months, you said before the pandemic, you had bi-weekly and weekly stuff going on. Has there been any of that in the past 15 months? Is anyone coming?
Yeah, for me, yes.
What's that?
For Mallory, yes, through early intervention, which she receives PT, OT, and DI. But she has nothing for the vision.
Nothing for vision. And then Meg, how about for Mila?
We're doing everything through telehealth. So we are doing speech therapy through telehealth, and we're also getting commission services through telehealth. Mila and Mallory, they have a lot of similarities. They also have a little bit of differences. For Mila, our focus with the vision and telehealth right now is we want to prepare her for pre-braille, but we also want to make sure that the daycare that she's at is safe. So like they're doing some remote visits through Zoom to assess like Mila's daycare and provide consultative services, suggestions for the teachers on how to modify things, adapt things. So they're doing everything through Zoom. And it would be great if Mila could have an in-person consultative service to make sure that everything's safe for her. I don't know how Zoom is better than nothing, but it's not
the hand over hand. So for folks that are watching and aren't quite familiar, one of the biggest techniques at the age that we're talking, the 3, 4, 5, the early intervention and the early school children, and even older, is a hand over hand. I mean, you're literally, you're putting your hand with the blind child's hand to navigate, to show, to do the pre-braille, to move, as opposed to just taking their hand and moving it, is what I'm trying to get across. There's a lot of contact like that. There's a lot of, in terms of, I say in my TED talk about I was my boys' sighted guide for their whole lives, just walking with them, narrating things that they're missing, talking about how to learn how to navigate a new situation, independently with a cane, with different, I mean, you don't always have a cane when you're little, but there's pre-cane stuff that we do in early intervention for kids to get them ready. And it is all stuff, and Meg, you're saying it so sweetly that yes, Zoom is better than nothing, but there are so many facets of laying a good foundation for a blind child that have to be in person. It is just, yes, Zoom is something, but the in-person is really where it's at. And I find it interesting that you're saying that the daycare is open, but nobody from the commission. And I should also back up for 1 second. I apologize, as a sidebar, I should have stopped a little while ago. The commission is the overarching services provider for the state of New Jersey. Am I right? Because it's different in every state.
Yes, the Commission for the Blind.
So that's who you go through to get these therapists to come to you.
Yes, and they run through the Department of Health and Human Services. And as far as I understand, there are other sub agencies under that are closed as well. So I also know that vocational rehabilitation is closed. Like there are no job coaches for disabled adults who need job coaches right now. So like there's a lot of
is just suffering. Like the disabled in general are just suffering in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah, it's actually in lots of states too. I'm always flabbergasted when people reach out to me from the different states that they're going through the same thing. Tara, tell us a little about the services, a little bit about the services that Mallory was getting.
So from 0 to 3, I must admit, I have to just admit that probably from birth to 4 months, I was completely shut down. I was in denial. I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. The only thing I saw was my daughter can't see.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And so therefore, my world completely just crumbled because I was thinking of everything that I took for granted in life, like the Christmas tree or a flower. And I was thinking in my head, my daughter is never going to see this. And then gradually she started seeing things a little bit at a time, after the cornea transplant, of course, because before the cornea transplant, it was just musical things that she would track, light up toys that she would track. But after the cornea transplant is when she really started noticing objects, different things. But for, our days were so crazy, my husband and I. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, but he has a full-time job, plus he's dealing with this and our 4-year-old son. But the days were so hectic because we were taking her to different specialists, trying to make sure, because once there's a visual problem, that it's usually followed by other things. She has cardiomyopathy, she has a mild case of hydronephrosis. And so we were just going so many different places. And then, I had contacted early intervention and they came right away for her. So she was receiving at that time PT once a week, and she was receiving DI once a week. OT just started after they came back September in 2020. And then I contacted the commission early on, and that was also once a week. So we went from once a week for everything to boom, nothing. Nothing. Then early intervention came back into the home September of 2020, wearing masks, did the temperature check, washed their hands, sanitized their hands, 6 feet apart. I wear a mask, and it's only myself, the instructor, and Mallory. And they're allowed to do it. They do it. They've been doing it. Thank
So
God.
early intervention, let me pause you for a second. I apologize, just so people that don't know all the lingo, and me too, because I don't know all of New Jersey. Early intervention is not the Commission for the Blind. Early intervention is your occupational therapy, your physical therapy. Is that right?
Yeah, early intervention is separate from the Commission for the Blind. So the early intervention provides PT, the OT, the DI, and speech.
Okay, so totally separate from the blind services. So this is where the crux of, for everybody that's listening, this is where the fired up issue is, that these other therapists have figured out how to do this in a safe way, just like a lot of the school districts are doing. We have hybrid. I mean, here I'm in Council Rock in Pennsylvania. We've got a hybrid option, in person. There's all different kinds of solutions, but teachers are in classrooms and our TVIs are working with our kids one-on-one with guidelines and safety regulations in place to be safe during COVID. So all these other people are making this work. It's just the services for the blind that should be, as everyone is probably, I can see that the Facebook comments are blowing up. The services for the blind, you would think, are the captain of the ship for our precious cargo that is going to get a foundation that they can thrive. And instead, I often say, I even said it in a lot of the talks I do, blindness is hard for people to get their heads around this. Blindness is not a barrier. It isn't. Blindness is not a barrier. It's just a thing. It's access or the lack of access that's the barrier to thriving. And this is why this makes my Philly soul come out, because the Commission for the Blind should be the number one cheerleader captain for making sure that access is provided at every point. And you would like logically, you would think, oh, it's the early intervention that doesn't quite get it, so we have to get them on board with the blind community. No. They already have it. It's the Blind Commission that is in the way. Okay, right. So before I start getting my blood pressure to rise, let's bring it down a little bit and let's talk about what have you guys been able to find out? And believe me, I know the hours and the stress that has probably gone into phone calls, emails, Facebook posts, Twitter messages, all of that. In all of this time you've had to spend advocating for your kiddos, what have you been able to find out of when this might come about? What has been the holdup? Is there somebody I can find? No, I'm just kidding. But
that is the $1 million question.
So a month and a half ago, I reached out to my assemblymen and my local congressman's office, whoever represented me in my district, and I reached out to the governor, and they escalated, they understood the problem and they escalated it to the commission. And one of the representatives from the commission, and I don't have her name on the top of my head, but yes, Eva Scott had contacted me back with a phone call and an email saying, just be patient, things will get better soon. Our teachers are going to be vaccinated soon. And at that time, I thought that was an acceptable response because the vaccinations were just starting. It was mid-February. But then Tara still hadn't heard anything. And then Tara contacted them this week. And I'll let you continue with the story.
That's right. I actually contacted, I have everything written down. So if I like look down, it's not that I'm not trying to look at everybody, but so I had first sent an email to the assemblyman, and that was on March 19th. And we were kind of going back and forth, and he actually is still trying to figure out what is going on, but to no avail. Nobody's getting back to him. After that, that's when I decided to start this petition, because I was thinking to myself, okay, if nobody else is going to find out what is going on, then I need to petition this. Like, I'm going to have to use my voice to advocate for my daughter. Mm-hmm. And did the petition, and then I heard from Eva Scott. That's how I knew, who is the director of special education. She basically had no answer. The million dollar question for all of the viewers is, when will you be operable? When will you be back into the homes and schools? So Eva Scott could not answer that question. She then directed me to Bernice Davis, who is the director of the Commission for the Blind in the state of New Jersey, who, to no avail, had no answer. So then Bernice ended up giving me the name of Michael Young, who's from the Division of Community Affairs, and he reached out through email, still with no answers. They're not even giving a time frame. They're not even saying, okay, well, we're doing X, Y, and Z right now. This is the protocol, this is the procedure. And it looks that by the end of June, things should be on the up and up. There's no talk of anything. So that's unacceptable. I'm not accepting it. Megan's not accepting it. And the rest of the parents of blind children should not accept it either.
Yeah, I agree. And I was saying before I think it was before we came live, because as soon as the Zoom room opened, we all started talking. I'm like, I feel like I've known you guys forever. So I'm thinking, did we talk about this yesterday? I just met you 5 minutes ago. If I already mentioned this and everybody just disregard, but a friend of mine whose daughter is a good friend of ours that we helped get the College Board situation figured out this summer with for blind AP students. They were telling me today, when they found out about this tonight, they were texting me today saying that all the school age kids haven't gotten the services either. So it's not even, I was thinking it was this early intervention. That's why I was so fired up. Why would you mess with the foundation? And then she says, oh, no. It's across the state. All of the school age kids haven't gotten this either. So for those of you that are watching, and we will, like I said, we're going to follow this over the next couple of weeks until we have answers, action, and resolution and get these kids going. But when everybody's saying, well, what can we do? Like, yes, we want you fired up also. You just heard the names, and we will tag in the comments. We'll put in there who those folks are and their offices to be in touch. But also, and I'm going to put the link to the petition on here, because what I learned in the summer when we went up against College Board, when everybody said, you guys are probably too young to remember the Brady Bunch, but for those that are my age and remember what the Brady Bunch,
we
can't fight City Hall. Yes, you can. There's power in voices, especially parents that are not going to sit back and let society tell them that they have no expectations for their children, because as we know, with our blind children, as well as our sighted and everybody in between, it is where your expectations are and your perception of their journey is where they're going to land. So we're not taking this, oh, we're going to do the best we can, because we know that New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Delaware and all of the United States can do better. And we're going to hold you to it. So sorry, this is one of the greatest things that the pandemic uncovered is all of this disparity in education. We're seeing it in all facets of the American life and in other countries, but this is one thing that we're not going to sit around and take anymore. So we want everybody that's watching to, if you are in New Jersey and if you are supposed to be receiving services, you need to get in touch with us to and especially sign that petition. And there's a greater group that I'm going to connect you guys to, like I said, those school age families, because of the power in numbers. But it really it really does. The action together does make a difference, because we did defeat College Board and those kids did get their AP exams delivered to them in Braille. And now they're in a fight again for the next round of AP exams. It doesn't always go away. However, constantly advocating and making new things happen is the way to go. And my hope is that enough people get involved that we hold these folks accountable forever, and that they know at least, okay, let's not piss off the moms of the blind kids anymore, because they're not going to stop. Let's be subpar elsewhere, because they're going to drive us crazy. But,
yes.
okay, you gave the list of the folks that you've talked to. So let's talk about next steps, especially for the folks that are watching. And like I said, this is part one of many parts. So for right now, for tonight, we're going to put the link. It's change.org. And then there's like a big thing after it. Is that, or can they just search on change.org right now if they're fired up and want to get in that?
Yeah, so I believe that I titled it Open Up Commission for the Blind in NJ.
Okay. Okay. And I'll put the link to it. If anyone is watching and has that link, drop it in the comments. And then I'll make sure I go into the comments and drop it as well. And then those different offices, I think that the number one office to ring the phone off the hook. It's so funny to say ring the phone off the hook because they do still have to take phone calls in these offices. They have the phones. I don't have a landline anymore, but they have them. It's the commission for the director of the Commission for the Blind is Bernice Davis. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, we'll put a link to that website in the comments as well. I think that is a great action step for folks that just want to help push this forward. Let's talk about very briefly, because I don't want to keep these all night. You have young kiddos at home. I can hear mine fighting over the pizza and the dogs are barking. I always say virtual learning is going perfect. It's like,
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody together all the time is going amazing. Let's talk very briefly about if someone is in your shoes, if they are sitting in the state of Pennsylvania watching either now or later when this thing circulates and they have a child in early intervention or school age that has not received services, should they get in touch with you guys? Should they, what can we do for those folks that want to get involved with this and help or get direction of what to do?
I mean, for myself, I'm still trying to figure it all out, but I am so open to paying it forward, that the more the merrier. Like we can all learn together, you know. I am learning things from you, you know, and if they want to reach out, hey, reach out, you know, sign the petition, reach out to me, Tara Scally 16 on Twitter, you know, and I will be more than happy to help, you know, if I can with whatever, be it made doctors, specialists, any type of platform that I know of, I'd be more than willing to share, but just be proactive about it. You have a gut instinct as a parent. And if you feel that your child deserves better, which all children deserve everything, no child should be left behind, disability or not. Exactly. Just do what you need to do. Go as far as you can. I literally went to President Biden and Kamala Harris. I haven't heard anything. I haven't even heard anything from my governor, but I still went there and I still did it. And it landed me to you. So obviously, if you start entry level and just keep climbing that rope, yes, it's going to feel endless and it's going to make you crazy and you're going to cry and eat pints of ice cream, but that's okay. You're going to get through it. And finally, somebody's going to be like, just shut that woman up and get their children's services. I'm hoping, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think contacting your local assemblyman or congressman, that's definitely a great first step because I know that they have to follow up with that. If you say you want a response, they're going to call you back. I mean, they want you to vote for them, so they want to follow up. You know, like I feel like getting political with it, writing to your local assemblyman, that's definitely a great first step, right?
Agreed. Agreed. I know a lot of people think that politicians are in it for a different game, and let's be honest, there are a lot that aren't in it for the right reasons. But here at least in my county, in Bucks County in Pennsylvania, Congressman Mike Fitzpatrick, who just passed away not that long ago, and we miss him every day. He was one of those people that was for the people. When I went to him and said, I need this, or this isn't working, or, you know, I was also very grateful when things were working. But there are a lot of elected officials out there that want to see reach out to them. You know, you guys just gave me an idea as I'm sitting here thinking we're about to launch the new Thriving Blind membership. And I'm thinking that we need state ambassadors that people in the states can come to, because I keep saying, I don't know enough about New Jersey. I know Pennsylvania. So I'm thinking, I think we need a state program where I can direct people. So I just declared you New Jersey ambassadors.
Oh my goodness.
Kristin, is there a way to survey survey the listeners and ask if their states are open for in-person services. Are there any other states that we know of at this point that are still only remote?
Well, there you go. You just put that out there. Let me put a poll up on Thriving Blind either this evening. I'll probably do it tomorrow morning. Let this get some legs on it tonight. And then tomorrow morning, I'll do that poll. And all of you that are watching, watch for it. That will say just very simply, what state are you and are your services for the blind open and coming into your homes and schools? It'll be very simple. And that's a great way to start to see what's happening in each state. Of course, it'll probably... might all need a shot of whiskey reading that list of all the closed ones. So I'm going to hold out hope. I'm going to hold out hope that we have several that are open. And honestly, the poll will also have to be, I'll have to configure it in a way that you can say if, like, I have 2 kids affected, my school age high schooler is getting services, but my college child is not. So we'll figure out a way to break it down. It's going to be, we'll make it very simple for now, and then we'll get a little more formal later, but let's just get the information. Like Meg's saying, it's a great idea to see what states, what's happening. And then I'm going to put you guys in contact with Kaylee and her mom, Kaylee Brendel, and our community is very familiar with Kaylee, who's heading to Villanova. She just got accepted and she's going to Villanova. She's going to be my neighbor. But I'll put you in touch with them because they are powerhouses in Jersey. And when they're fired up, you know, the things are not going well. And they will, I can imagine the 3 of you together, the 4 of you together are really going to get some stuff done. But like I said, well, this will just be the first part. And we're going to check in over the next several weeks and months and see where we're at. And all of you that are watching, you drop comments in there. If there's something we didn't cover, if you have a question, we'll cover it in the next one. You want to stay in touch, you want emails, drop it in the comments. We'll get all the information to you. So you guys, I'm telling you, when I was reading the tweets and found out about you and how young your kids are, you are heroes to me, that you are taking such action. It took me a while to take action. It takes a lot of us a while to get hit by something big like this and actually take productive action. And here's my favorite part about both of you. I'm watching your faces light up every single time you say your daughter's name. It's phenomenal. And for the fact that you're in this, you're so frustrated they're not getting their services. You're still in that mode of accepting and moving towards thriving and still in survival mode. And I know the heaviness on your heart that comes with all this early in the journey, and still being able to see your faces light up in the midst of all of that. I'm honored that you came to me, and I'm so proud to know you guys, and you're stuck with me now. You're stuck with me as a friend on your journey forever.
There's so much to be proud of. We'll brag to you about our girls all the time too. So.
Awesome. All right, maybe next time we come on, the girls can pop on, or at least have pictures or something that we can show. So we can get to know them a little bit.
Oh my gosh, they will have a party.
Awesome. All right, everybody at Thriving Blind, so thanks so much for tuning in. Please share this. We're going to get the word out about this and drop all the stuff that we were talking about in the comments, and watch for that poll coming soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much.
You guys are fantastic. You guys are so fantastic. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here like, oh, I wish I had a friend like you guys when my journey started, because it was bad. It was just bad. But I mean, I've moved on and my kids are doing well, but it was quite a catch. And we actually moved back from Chicago to home here in Philly because I was like, there's nobody out here that gets it. I cannot do this by myself. And my family's very tight. It was hard to be away. But But I'm so happy that you found each other, and that now all these people are hearing from you. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for finally giving us a platform, really.
Yeah. Well, you created quite a good platform on your own, and I'm just coming in to be a conduit of.
I think I just went crazy though, to be honest. Like, I didn't think I was just like, you know what? There's nothing left to do. I'm just going to give my soul up to change.org.
Well, let me tell you something. When Kaylee came to me about the AP exams, now my Mitch, they're best friends, right? He's in the AP exams too. He never said a word to me that they weren't going to get them in Braille. It was Kaylee that came to me, and I'm like, Mitch, he's such a slacker. He always says, it all works out, Mom. Yeah, because I'm exhausted from making it work out. But anyway, I said to Kaylee, here's what you do. I don't know if you know Kaylee Brendel.
I remember reading about her. Yeah,
she's got blonde hair, you know, and she's very poised and she's very well spoken, and she has a charm about her. So I go, Kaylee, I'm going to tell you something that people are not going to be happy about. You're a good looking kid, and we're going to use that on Twitter. I said, don't tell any of the women's empowerment people that I said that, but we're using what you got. And she had her to use her Braille note. I said, don't go longer than 90 seconds. Say what you're upset about, say why, blah, blah, blah. And she did a 90-second reading it from her Braille note in great lighting, had her mom film her with her hair brushed amazingly. Over 1 million views that little video had. It went so berserk that the National Federation of the Blind got involved. College Board was furious, right? Everybody started to care because here's this well-versed, wonderful blind kid that didn't look like the picture of, oh, sad and oh, in the dark. Nope. And she was just like, why aren't you giving me what I need? Basically. So I would say
that's what we have to do. We have to raise warriors.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And someday our kids won't have to go through all of this and all that and whatever. That day will come. But for now, so I would give some consideration to doing a short video, putting it out on Twitter, updating people of what's like the initial cause, maybe a video of your daughter, whatever. We can talk about that if you want more action that way on social media. But this, so I recorded it, I'll be able to put it on YouTube, and then we can share it on Twitter, and I'll take snippets of it and stuff. And you guys are welcome to whatever screen share stuff you have or screen record, take pieces of it. Even if you want to just take your own face from it, whatever you want to do with it to make this happen. And then we'll touch base. My problem is now I'm in the middle of my move, but next week, let's just keep in touch and see if you're getting feedback, if anyone else is getting involved. What's that?
Staying in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm only going 10 minutes into Newtown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love Bucks County.
You're like right in the middle of us then. So I'm south and Tara's north, and you're like right in the middle, but on the other state.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Don't try to go any further now. You're stuck with it.
I was dating someone that wanted to move to Florida, and I'm like, I don't think Florida can handle me, and my hair summers.
They can't handle the East Coast.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm kind of a Philly girl, and I'll visit down there and swim, but I gotta come back. I gotta bitch about the winters, because what else would I do if I wasn't bitching about snowing? Whatever.
Literally.
Yeah, cool. So next, let's just stay in touch, see how the momentum's going, and then if any developments happen, or if it's not moving, and we need to come on and talk about something else, or maybe we'll bring in Kaylee and her mom next week, and then we can make it a big Jersey thing and see what they're doing. I am open for.
Oh, that sounds.
Also, I forgot to tell you this before, but I was totally fangirling over your TED Talk when my daughter was like a month old, and I was in that like on my couch, like depressed every day thing. And I probably watched your TED Talk like 100 times. And I know I sent it to Tara, and Tara watched it too. And it was just like, you fired us up because of that. So we are like,
yeah.
We're ready now because of all the stuff you did. So
I'm so glad it's come full circle, because there were other moms that did that for me, and that was one of the worst. That was when I did that TED Talk, was when my ex-husband, after 20 years, decided screw this and made our lives. My kids have been through so much shit, but they are now. But that day I was like, there was security making sure he didn't come in. My kids were in there. It was a disaster.
Wow.
And my coach that put that whole production together was she to this day is one of the most phenomenal people. She's actually helped. We're creating a short film now on the hiring issues for the blind community, but in a really cool way, putting it into all the film festivals. Johnson & Johnson is like this close to getting involved financially. Like it's a big thing that's happening. That's why I'm like, man, we're making all this progress. We did all this for these kids to thrive. And then the freaking commission can say, it's not cool. So anyway, so I'm like early intervention and film festivals for blind adults. No wonder why I don't sleep. I'm like, I'm up at 5. I'm up at 5. I'm not so good at 8:30 at night, but 5 a.m. I'm your girl. Anyway, I don't want to keep you all night, but stay in touch, and then let's see if we can set one up for next week, or if not next week, definitely the following.
Okay,
sounds good.
And I'm going to connect you guys to Kaylee and her mom.
Yeah.
And then one more thing, like I said, if you don't hear from me, you have to nag me. This is such a priority for me. I'm just getting inundated with my life stuff, and I want to get back to all of this stuff. So just
right.
We're good at nagging.
Oh yeah.
But you do it with a smile and charm. That's what I love. All right, girls. Thanks a bunch. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
See ya.